My thoughts on this. Again, this is an extension, and I hope to do this somewhat seamlessly without making too many mistakes. We'll see what happens here. Let me show you what the final version looks like, if you haven't done this already. Okay, so we have a package, and we have a box, and we have the package design. We have a box that's for a cellular phone, and you'll notice that we have a picture of the phone on the front, and we have some text, and we have some text on the top, and we have some text on the side, as well as a little label here. And the question is, if you start with two-dimensional artwork like this, how do you get it to fit in perspective on a box like this? Because notice that everything that's wrapped on here is in perspective. Okay, it follows the direction of the plane, whether it be vertical or horizontal. And they have a tool for doing that. And this doesn't look half bad. However, for those of you who have had 3D modeling, okay, Randy here is in the 3D class. I think doing this in a 3D modeling program is a better way to go. I think you will get better results, because what you can do, instead of photograph the box and view it from just one perspective, one point of view, is that this is just a simple box. It's not going to take you long to build a box and add little fillets so they get the nice little curved corners. And if you want to lift the top lid a little bit so that it looks like it's actually folded in and inserted and that sort of thing, it would not take you that long to build this in a 3D modeling program. And then take the same surface that you have here and wrap it on here, project it. And my recommendation would be, we haven't gotten to it in our 3D class, but to use a UV map. And there's different kinds of UV maps that you can use. In this particular instance, it would be an atlas type, where you can project things on there and make it look just like the real thing. Now, why would that be advantageous? Is because in 3D modeling, as opposed to Photoshop, is that in the 3D modeling program, you can view this from any point of view and take another snapshot. You are restricted in here by the original perspective point of view that you're viewing it. So for every other vantage point you want to see this box, you have to have a separate photograph and go through the separate, go through these individual steps. And that just doesn't make sense to me. You don't have to know a whole lot about 3D modeling to do what's done in here. There is an example of this that Burt Munro does, that is Burt Munro. He is a famous illustrator that works in Photoshop, and he does huge, huge paintings in Photoshop that are just enormous, and they're really quite beautiful. But when he, and I'll show you this probably, maybe on another day, a little videotape on lynda.com that he did, something very similar to this. And it just looks to me, if you can do it within 15 minutes, fine. But it would never be, for me, never be something that I would use as a final piece. In the 3D modeling class, not only can you view the box from any angle, you can adjust the lighting, you can tweak the surfaces. Is the box, is it a shiny coated surface, glossy paper, or is it matte, or maybe one side is matte and one is glossy? You can change all of those things quite easily. It's much harder to do that in here. Not that you can't do it in Photoshop, but I think a better way to go, as I'm currently, talking about here, is in the 3D modeling. So how do you do this? How you do that is we start with this template here, and they have just a plain old box. And we're going to go to Filter, and we're going to start with Vanishing Point. Okay? So we start by clicking and dragging. Whoops. Oh, what am I doing here? I'm just not thinking here. Let me finish this and tell you that I canceled because I goofed up. See, I already started in a bad place. Okay, let's start again. Let me go to Vanishing Point. The book will tell you to start from the front, and that is a typo. It's not correct. So everybody else who left early, you want me to help them? Or do you, because they're going to struggle with this and it's not going to work. What you have to do is you start with this plane over here. And just like we did with the side of the house, the schoolhouse or barn or whatever it was in the other exercise, okay, we click and we drag and we click and we move the mouse. We click and we click. Okay, so now we have the grid. Now we can build off of this. To do that, you hold down, hold on here. I'm going to mess up again. Oh, come on. There we go. I'm going to hold down the Option Command key. I'm going to pull it out like so. So now it pulls out another plane. Now what I can do is I can hold down the Option key and I can move this so that it actually matches the perspective, and then I can pull this forward like so. Pull it forward just a little bit. So now I have the perspective not only for here, but one that matches the front of the box. We repeat the same step. Hold down the Option and Command key. Notice how the icon changes. And now I stretch it forward. Make sure that it extends far enough. Hold down the Option key to rotate it a little bit so that it matches the perspective nicely. It's not a perfect match, but close enough for government work, as I always say. You know, guys that do the road work, that's what I'm thinking. You're driving along, it looks nice. They repair the road. There's always at least a 2-inch difference between the original and what they repaired. Close enough. You know, it doesn't matter if your suspension bottoms out. And you're so now what we can do is we can go back. And let's go back here. And now I'm ready to go ahead and place the artwork in here. So I could go to Edit. I have to have the artwork in here first, so I may have kind of boxed myself into a corner here. And I probably did. Oh, shoot. Now I got to do it over again. But that will be good. I should have had this piece pasted to the clipboard so I could put it inside it. And I can't do that right now. So I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place right now. Oh man, I can't paste it because there's nothing to paste. So hopefully they fix this in CS4 that you don't have to do it in particular order. So let me cancel it. Let's go back. Let me just select all. Let's go ahead and copy it so that it's on the clipboard. Let's go back to the box or template. Let's go to Filter. Let's go to Vanishing Point. Start the process over again. Click. Move the mouse. Click. Move the mouse. Click. Move the mouse. Trying to match the perspective here. Click. Okay. Hold down the Option, Command key. Pull it out, the stretch, and add to the plane. Move over the edge. I can move this forward or backwards. Hold down the Option key, and it allows me to rotate it. So, because when you do extend it and add a second plane, it does it at a 90-degree angle in perspective. What we're doing, because this is actually, you know, the box is at 90 degrees, but you'll notice that this line and this line taper, don't they? If I were to extend these all the way down below the monitor, they would converge at some point. If I were to take this line as well, it too would converge at that same point. What we're looking here at the box is not a simple 2-point perspective, it's a 3-point perspective. That point down below is the third point. If we were to take this line along the base, this one along the edge, and this one, and continue them across, they will be at what is called a vanishing point along the horizon line. Likewise, this line, and this line will meet on that same horizon line along the vanishing point over there. So you can see that we have 3. This is 3-point perspective, and this really doesn't account for that. We have to sort of factor that in. It's a true 2-point perspective. Anyway, did you guys learn that in drawing? Anybody do 1, 2, 3-point perspective and all that good stuff? So let's move this out. Let's go ahead and rotate this slightly. Get it to match. Pull it back just a tad. Doesn't match perfectly. It's close enough. So now I should be able to, here, go to Edit, and I can't. Why not? Am I doing it wrong? I'll bet I am. I'll bet I have to come back and do this again, because I'm goofing up here. Edit. How about, let's go ahead here. Edit. Image. Oh, Kirk. Let me select it and just paste it, Command V. And let's move it in here. Oh, there we go. So there we go. I knew that all along. I was just testing. But you can see now that as all I had to do was just Command V or paste it. And you can see now that it takes that texture and wraps it across those 3 separate planes. Using the Move tool here, we can move this across. Notice as it slides around, it maps across each of those planes pretty nicely. Okay? Pretty nicely. So this is about how we want to do this. And that's really the crux of the thing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some Illustrator images. We're going to copy them, paste them inside there. Take a little symbol here, because if I click OK, we can always come back to this since it's already been edited. You'll notice in the final version, here, not here, not here, there we go. We have a bit of text that was pasted in from Illustrator. We have this logo that we can type. It's still editable, at least it is in here. I don't know that it is anymore here, but we can test it and see if they've already flattened it. I hope it doesn't crash. Let's go in here. Nope. Never mind. It's already been flattened. What if we were to take this now and go to Filter, select this one, and let's, nope, they've already flattened everything, so we're done in here. Too late, it's the end one. But if we go back into the other one, notice that I can always go to Filter because it hasn't been flattened yet. And I can come back in here, and when I go back, let me get another part to this. Let's take the text from Illustrator and paste it in, because I want this text to be in perspective along here. So I'm going to go back to the file over here. It's a part of this whole little folder here of images that we're putting together in Photoshop. Need to go in my public folder. That's where I have it saved. And this is lesson 10, I believe. So here's a side copy. Here's a special offer. Here's the logo done in Illustrator. And I'm going to open them in Illustrator. This is the beauty of these programs, since they are owned by Adobe, that they do work together pretty nicely. And as they develop the programs each year, they do, you see the strengths of each, and that you work with them to combine them and use the best of each to combine one from the other. And the reason that they did the text in Illustrator, a couple of reasons, is to show you that we can combine Illustrator files with Photoshop, but the other is that Illustrator actually does a much better job of handling text. So I can take this, select it all, and instead of having it black fill, we can switch to white. So it almost looks like it disappears, but it's all here. Make sure that everything is selected here. So let's go ahead and make sure it's all selected. Copy it like I did before. Here's the other little thing that we're going to add. Let's go back. Here's a logo that we can add. Let's go back in here now. Oh, I can't find it. No. There we go. So let's go back into here, into filter, and we go back to Vanishing Point once again. And it still has the grid, and I can go to paste again. And it should paste it in there. Come on. Please paste it in there. Edit. Let's go ahead and paste. Not doing it. Okay, then let's try something different. Let's go back. Since I have this file open in here. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Let's take the text. I've got more things open than I want. Let's just take the text and drag it over and see what happens. Use the move tool. I'm going to drag it in here. Now that I have it in here, it's not doing what I had hoped. So let me again, from in here, let's copy it or cut. Come on. There we go. Let's go ahead and cut. So it takes it away. Oh, come on. Select all. One of those days. There's my smart object. Let's go ahead and select all. I'm going to cut it. Ta-da! Why aren't you doing it? Select all. Cut. Why aren't you doing it? Command X should cut, edit. It won't cut. Well, let's copy then. And then let's go back again with our black box layer. And we'll go back to filter. And we'll go back to Vanishing Point. And let's paste it. Now it's in here. Okay, it's too big, way too big, but that's okay, because now what we can do is we can transform it and go over the corner. Command T for transform. Hold down the Shift key to constrain the proportions. We can move it in place. See how I'm tweaking it a little bit? This isn't going as smoothly as I thought, telling you how easy all of this is, but you know, once you understand the principle, it works together pretty nicely, and you'll see how it all fits in here nicely. The perspective matches that plane of the box. Click OK, and now, even though I'm probably not doing this in the exact order of the book, I've got that placed. And we're going to do the same with the logo on the top, same with the logo on the front. We can add beveling, we can add drop shadows, because it should be editable text. Okay, the same with the little snippet that they have here. What is this little thing here? I already used that one, so I'll hide it. The special offer here, this is what we want. Okay, so we want all of this. So I'm going to select all. I'm going to copy it, or just drag it over. It's in here now, meaning in here, meaning in Photoshop. I fix it. It's a smart object by default. Now that it's in here, what did I do before now? Now I've forgotten myself. I say select all, copy, make sure I have the right layers selected, go to View, go to go to Filter, go to Vanishing Point again, and go to paste, and it pastes it inside. Okay, notice that it matches, as you move it about, it matches the perspective of the three sides. Hit Command T to transform, just as you would normally. Hold down the Shift key to constrain the proportions. Move it in place. If you want to rotate it, you can. Notice it rotates it in perspective, which is pretty cool. So, you know, this is not a useless tool, not by any stretch of the means. It's really very nice, and it's much better than what they've had before. But I still think, based on what I said in my introduction, and I think 3D modeling is a better way to go. Because again, when we're done with this, and I turn this off too, is that we're still stuck with this one view of the box. But you know what? What if the client says, well, that looks great, but we also want to see the back of it too? Then from a different perspective, well, that original blank that we had doesn't help. We have to set up a blank again, shoot it, you know, do a photo shoot. You need it to come from somewhere, but if we had done it in the 3D program, you don't need that. You don't need to take any more photographs. You just need the 2D art and you're done. And that's it. Last semester when I was, in the spring when I was teaching next door, I took the same image and I built a box and put it on there. And it really worked pretty nicely. I thought it looked much better myself. But that's my prejudice. I guess that's to get more people to take 3D too. So this does a good job though. What can I say? You know, pretty impressive. This was new to the CS3, and I don't know what they've added or changed in CS4. I'll be eager to find out. Hopefully they've made some improvements, you know, because in CS2, I forget what version they added the Vanishing Point. Maybe it was CS or the last version, 8 or 9 or something like that. So, you know, they keep adding little things like this and changing it, and it really helps. Because, you know, much of what you're doing in this program oftentimes isn't necessarily finished art. This would be an excellent way to comp up an idea for a client, that if you know that you are going to build this and to do the finished artwork and you wanted to give the client a pretty good idea of what it was going to look like when you go to finish, this would be an excellent way to do this. For a finished ad, I don't know that I would do it this way, because I don't think it's refined enough. But to show a client, you know, do a series of 2D pieces in Photoshop and or Illustrator, and then map it to this box so that you could show the client a half a dozen different ideas like that, and that they get a pretty clear idea. This is what this package looks like, not spread out just in 2D form, because if you've ever taken a box of cereal and taken it apart to see it all at 6 sides stuck together, it's hard for most people, and designers included, myself as well at times, to visualize that and to see what it would look like when you put the box back together. You know what I'm saying? When in its final form. And so what you're doing is you're taking the 2D art, doing a very quick mapping onto what appears to be a 3D surface, and you can visualize pretty easily what it's going to look like in its final form. And I think that's what this does nicely. That's all I want to say about this, because the rest of this, the text is more of the same with regard to what I just did. What I do want to show you, though, while you're still here, is I have to turn off the video camera to make sure that I don't violate lynda.com's copyrights. But I want to go to lynda.com and show you the Burt Munro piece where he does something very similar to this. And you be the judge. This guy is really good, but I still think when he comes up with his final product, it doesn't look finished enough for my taste. I mean, he's thinking that this is an ad for, you know, a magazine or something, but I don't think it's finished enough, just from my point of view. Okay? So that's this next part. We're really cooking with the exercises. Really don't have too many more to do. We only do up to about less than 12 in this class, and this is 9 or 10. What is it? 10. So so we only have a couple more to do. And what I would like to do after that is to talk about saving for web, things like that. So have any of you taken a web class? Anybody have any desire to take a web design class? No? Okay. Well, so far everything that we've done in here is for print. So that's why I've emphasized 300 pixels per inch. And we keep everything in the Photoshop format, which is an extension of PSD. But when you're designing for the web, you need to work at screen resolution, which is either 72 pixels per inch or 96 pixels per inch, a big difference. And then in order to make it compatible for the web, you need to save for web, because there are only 3 file formats that will work on the web: JPEG, GIF, or PNG. So if you plan on using Photoshop for other programs, even if, let's bring up 3D again, that the program that we use, Lightwave, it's best if you save the files as Targa files or TGA files, so that you can use them for mapping onto the sides of surfaces like we do in here. There's other applications that Photoshop can be used for, and web is an important one that I wanted to touch on before the end of the semester. There are some other good tutorials on lynda.com that are more advanced that I would like to show you, that I think are worthwhile knowing about. You're not going, even if you take notes, it will be hard to follow them later on because they're fairly complicated. But to show you what's involved, if, for example, you have a really good portrait of someone, a photograph, and you want to adjust the levels, the brightness, the color in that, and to do that, maybe you will have to make some very advanced types of selections, because if it's a tight portrait, you're going to see all the little frizzes and the little strands of hair, you know, and you don't want to lose any of that. And using the selection techniques that we've learned so far, you would. And so this requires using channels to make your selections, which we sort of did, but again, it's a combination of techniques that you employ to do this, to create some really, I think, some pretty interesting results. That would be one of the types of tutorials that I want to show you before the semester's end. Okay? So if you have questions or you have problems with this exercise, let me know, but it's pretty brief, pretty straightforward, even though I goofed. I mean, I got through it, you know, so it's not one that I do every day, and even so, that's not an excuse, just that I wouldn't do it in this program. That's my choice. Okie doke. So in just a moment, I will go ahead and get that other tutorial up for you.